Can you believe this? A man in salmon-colored shorts, wearing a visor and clutching a clipboard, came to my door to tell me my concrete was illegal, and he actually believed it right as he slipped on the slope. Sounds ridiculous, right? But it's true. And if you hate neighborhood tyrants as much as I do, this one's for you. I live in Queen Anne, Seattle, a neighborhood that feels like it was designed by a depressed roller coaster engineer. The hills aren't just steep, they laugh at gravity and at your sedan suspension. My place, a mid-century thing I basically sold a kidney for, sits glued to one of those hills, and the so-called driveway is generous language. It's a concrete launch pad, poured in 1952, built when cars were made like safes and men drank paint for breakfast, and it has a 25% grade. Parking is a ritual: parking brake wheels toward the curb and a quick prayer to the gods of friction. It sat there for 70-plus years, ugly, punishing on the calves, but functional, until Richard, the HOA president, decided it was illegal. Richard, the kind of guy who measures his neighbor's grass with an actual ruler and fines you if your trash cans are out 4 minutes early, showed up one rare sunny afternoon, clipboard like armor, climbed 3 steps and slipped, face turning the exact color of his shorts, and then told me, "Your driveway exceeds the city's 20% limit. You're in violation. This is an official notice." That's where the drama cranked up. I peeled the yellow notice off my mailbox and read 30 days to regrade or face $500 per day fines and a lien, 40 grand minimum to regrade a driveway that wasn't broken, and I didn't have 40 grand. What I did have was a hot, steaming hatred for petty bureaucratic bullying, and Mike, the only guy I know crazy enough to look at this mess and not hang up. Mike rolled up at 7 a.m. truck, sounding like a blender full of rocks dripping oil in a steady rhythm. He's a local contractor who's been in fights with the city permit office for decades, lives on bad coffee, gas station hot dogs, and pure concentrated ire. We dug through the Seattle Municipal Code and the HOA bylaws, paper cups of coffee piling up, hunting for a loophole, a grandfather clause, an exemption, something. And then we found it. The city distinguishes between vehicular access and pedestrian hardscaping. There are grade limits for driveways, sure, but there's no maximum grade for stairs. Pedestrian paths are regulated by riser height and tread depth, not by the overall slope. In other words, if we tore the driveway out and built stairs, the city code could back us, and the HOA wouldn't have the power to overrule a valid city permit. So here's the twist: we didn't just want to build stairs, we wanted an unassailable shield. Mike chuckled at the idea of a spite staircase, but Sully, a welder. Mike knows who treats metal like a living thing, and once got kicked out of a Portland gallery for trying to weld a car to a lamppost, suggested we make the handrail a site-specific art installation. That's when everything clicked. There's a federal law, the Visual Artists' Rights Act, VARA, that protects recognized works of visual art from intentional destruction or mutilation. If an artist's registered site-specific piece is destroyed, you're looking at statutory damages up to $150,000 per violation. Suddenly, our stupid railing becomes a federal-level problem for anybody who tries to cut it down. We made demolition loud jackhammers at dawn, concrete exploding into dust like a flag of defiance. The sound echoed down the hill and probably rattled Richard's china. 45 minutes later, the police rolled up lights, lazily flashing 2 officers, 1 rookie, and Officer Daniels, who I recognized. Richard was already pointing and squealing about illegal excavation. I handed Daniels my permit: landscaping and pedestrian hardscape, expedited and stamped. He read it, glanced at the jackhammers, then at me. "If you've got a city permit for pedestrian work," he said, "that overrides your HOA's house rules, this is a civil matter. Don't call us unless someone's bleeding." We installed 47 concrete steps, perfectly engineered terraces, a glorious overbuilt staircase to nowhere for cars. Then Sully showed up with the railing, not a handrail, but a jagged, twisting iron thing that looked like a lightning bolt made of rust and intention. It was chaotic, sharp in places, smooth in others, and when bolted down the center of the steps, it read as modern art from my porch and as an enormous metallic middle finger from Richard's. Sully signed the artist's paperwork on the spot, and we registered the handrail as a site-specific public artwork. Right as he drove away, Richard stormed over with a stack of yellow envelopes, fines, a cease and desist, $10,500 in penalties. I handed him my own envelope, the VARA registration and artist statement. If you or the HOA attempts to alter or remove this work, I said the artist will sue in federal court. You'll face statutory damages and legal fees. Richard froze, smugness sliding off his face like wet paint. Then I improved my situation further. Without a driveway, I had to park on the street. The flattest, most premium curb on our block. The 100 feet right in front of Richard's immaculately manicured lawn. I started parking there. He howled. I bought a decrepit teal moped off Craigslist for $300 and used the moped maneuver, park the moped dead center in the curb spot, drive the Civic around the block when I need to come back and slide both into the space. Neither vehicle ever sat for more than 24 hours. So the city's 72-hour abandoned vehicle rule couldn't touch me. Richard escalated. He called parking enforcement. A tired parking officer named Brenda rolled up, checked the chalk marks and the tire rotation, and basically told him off. She'd seen his calls 14 in 3 days and warned him that repeatedly calling dispatch to hound a legally parked car could get him cited for misuse of city resources. That was delicious. The ultimate showdown happened at an emergency HOA hearing. Richard presided like a judge armed with a microphone he didn't need. I carried a thick binder of every permit code section and legal paper. He read charges: destruction of an approved driveway, installation of dangerous, ugly hardscaping, operating a nuisance vehicle. I walked the room through the facts one by one. He declared the driveway unsafe and ordered me to abandon it. I abandoned it. I obtained expedited stamped city permits for pedestrian hardscaping, and the handrail is a registered site-specific work protected under VERA. When I laid the VARA registration on the table, the room went quiet. The HOA suddenly realized that forcing the removal of the rail would expose them to federal liability and personal liability for the board members. Chairs shifted. Richard's allies backed away. Gary, the treasurer, moved to dismiss the charges and vacate the fines, and it was over. The board folded faster than Richard's dignity. That night, walking back up my hill felt different. The air felt crisper. The incline didn't feel quite as mean. I looked at the ridiculous, overbuilt staircase, the jagged iron rail, and the teal, duct-taped moped guarding my parking spot. It was ugly, inconvenient, spiteful, and utterly perfect. I recorded a quick video, hand on the cold metal, a tired laugh. They wanted strict compliance. I gave them a 50-foot public art installation and permanent moped-powered parking sovereignty. The lesson here, born from dust jackhammers and a federal statute, is this: petty local power can be brutal when unchecked. But laws, even dense and annoying ones, can be a bigger weapon when you know where to look. Sometimes resistance isn't yelling louder. It's reading the fine print, turning constraints into a statement, and using the rules to your advantage. So here's the question to chew on when someone uses the law to beat a neighborhood bully. Is that justice or just an advantage for the person who knows the rules? How far should local authority reach? And is someone who deploys legal tactics to get even really any better than the tyrant they fought? What do you think? If this made you laugh, cheer, or see red, drop your take in the comments. Are you Team Richard or Team me? Do we call that justice or clever exploitation? And if you've got your own HOA horror story, I want to hear it. See you in the next one. And next time a guy in salmon shorts shows up to declare your concrete illegal, read the rules, smile, and plan your next move.